I'm Brent Farley. I'm the managing member of Farley Law. And today let's talk about electronic signatures. So one of the most common questions that we get still is about using electronic signatures in lending and deposit accounts. Now, that's a really big topic, so we'll break it down just into lending today. But really, one of the most common questions we get is, how do I use electronic signatures in lending? Or can I use electronic signatures in lending, and how does that work? Some of the reasons for that is often our lender clients will be interested in making the signature process faster, making it easier to get signatures from customers, and just creating an overall better experience for their customers in getting signatures and closing a loan. Being able to close a loan entirely electronically for some demographics really speeds up the process. And I know for a few folks really do appreciate just sitting down and signing things in paper. And so you can do that too if you have an electronic signature process in place. But where this kind of program really shines is where you want to offer a service where you can extend a loan quickly and close it quickly and disperse lending funds quickly to your borrowers. So we're seeing a lot of requests for that kind of information. So the answer is yes, you can use electronic signatures in a lending program. So yes, you can do that with personal property. You can do that with personal loans. You can do that with commercial loans. You can do it also with real estate, including personal and commercial real estate lending. There are some caveats. I know that. So before any of you get too far ahead of me and say, well, wait, what about FHLB? What about the SBA? What about this or that? There are some issues that do crop up in specific circumstances. But yes, if you really wanted to, and in a lot of cases, it's relatively easy to, you can have a lending program that uses electronic signatures to close loans. So to get started with the discussion, we'll talk about a couple of statutes, and then we'll run through a couple scenarios for signatures to kind of help go through the discussion so that's clear what we're talking about. So way back in 2001, we had the e-Sign Act, Electronic Signatures in Global Commerce. What that act said is that, for the most part, electronic signatures are an acceptable means of signing a document. What is an electronic signature? Well, just about whatever you might imagine to be an electronic signature. So Adobe Sign works. Typing in an I agree to an email works. Not that that's a good idea, but that is an electronic signature. Clicking an I agree button on a website, that works. Having some kind of log that shows a consent to an agreement, that works. There are a lot of ways to make an electronic signature work under the e-Sign Act. Next up, we have the Uniform Electronic Transactions Act, so UETA. A lot of states have adopted some version of this, and for the most part, what that says is that in a commercial agreement, if two parties agree to use electronic signatures and that's okay, they can use electronic signatures. Now let's take that and apply it to a promissory note, and we'll pull out one of the distinctions there that's really important. So in a promissory note, what is it? It's agreement. I promise to pay an amount of money to a lender that I receive from the lender. And so that's an agreement. You can sign that with an electronic signature, and it is effective as an agreement. Just pause there for a second. There's a contrast that we want to make here. A promissory note is more than just an agreement. If it's drafted in a certain way, it can also be a negotiable instrument, like a check. The importance of that is that within a negotiable instrument, a signature on a physical piece of paper has a legal meaning. So there's really a limited extent to which you can apply electronic signatures to a paper negotiable instrument. So if you have a promissory note that's signed in paper, and you want to use the features of a negotiable instrument, you need to use paper and ink signatures to transfer the negotiable promissory note. If you don't want to use the format of UCC, or it's not important for your lending program, you can treat the promissory note as an agreement, and you can execute it with digital signatures. You can transfer it with digital signatures, and that works in a number of cases. The UITA, electronic signatures for just in generally for commerce, that act allows for a registry to be created where you can record digital negotiable instruments. So there's a statutory framework for digital negotiable instruments, but to my knowledge, there aren't very many people who are using those, so that aspect is difficult to use, or as a practical matter, it is not very useful at this point in time. That sort of program is under development, so it is something to watch over time. There may be a solution that does come around sometime in the next, 3, 5, 10 years. That could be a viable solution for digital negotiable instruments, and then you could sign and transfer a promissory note negotiable instrument. Next document that I want to bring up to talk through is a deed of trust, and we'll talk about this because it lets us illustrate a couple more points. So can you sign a deed of trust electronically? Yes. Can you record a deed of trust electronically? A lot of the time, yes. Not every county in the United States is going to accept a digital deed of trust to record with the property records, and that makes it really hard to have a secured interest in the real property that you're using as security for a loan. So if you're lending in typically higher population areas, or areas that have made the investment to make their deed records or land records digital and to accept digital filings, that an electronic signature can work in those particular counties. The next question comes up with deeds of trust is, can I notarize this document electronically? So for land records, typically an instrument that affects the public record has to be notarized and acknowledged before it can be filed in the public records. And typically in the past, that's been done by sitting down physically in front of a notary, where they take your ID, you sign a document in front of them. The notary signs the document as well. They register the document in their notary book, and then you have an acknowledged physical instrument that you can record in the land records. So in the past few years, a number of states, I think it's most states now, have adopted electronic notarization procedures. And so you're taking the physical process where you sat down in front of a notary and you're putting that in front of a camera. So you can sit down in a web conference, in a video conference with a notary. You can talk to the notary, talk to you. You can present your ID, your identifying documents. They'll take some additional steps to confirm that you are who you say you are and have the ID that you say you do. And you can print a digital signature on a digital document, and it also can include information about what kind of identification was used in the notarization process within the file, so you can have an electronically notarized document. Now, that was a really long-winded way of saying that yes, you can sign a promissory note with a digital signature. Yes, you can sign a deed of trust with a digital signature, and you can also get it notarized with a digital signature. But there are a few things to be aware of. So if you want to transfer a promissory note as a negotiable instrument, it's probably not going to work digitally. If you have a small county or a county that hasn't made an investment in digitizing their public records process, then you're probably not going to be able to use a digital deed of trust. So short answer is yes, you can use electronic signatures. And there are lenders that do use electronic signatures in a variety of lending processes. And it is suitable for bank lending. It's suitable for non-bank lending. It can be done. But there are a few things to be aware of depending on the type, on your geography, and on the type of lending that you do, or whether or not you want to be able to transfer a promissory note to somebody else. Last thing to throw on the pile is there are some specific government issues that come up when you're working with digital signatures. First one I want to talk about is SBA lending, so Small Business Administration loans. If you're working with SBA loans in the operations manual, for the SBA operations manual, you need to take a look at their requirements for digital signatures, and so that they have a list of what is acceptable and what is not. It's not like there's a specific type of program, but there are certain criteria that you have to fit to make sure your digital signature will work for the SBA. The requirements have to do with a positive identification of the person who's signing. There's some steps that you need to take with that, and security of the document, and a couple of other items. So be sure, if you're looking into electronic signatures, to take a look at those requirements. Or if you're interested in looking at digital signatures for another program, you might look at their requirements for some inspiration on how you want to go about accepting a valid and provable electronic signature. Last thing to bring up, this one's a little buried on the back end and you might not see it readily, but the FHLB in your district, the Federal Home Loan Bank, might require you, actually most likely requires you, to have a paper and ink signature on a physical document for loans that you are going to use to secure FHLB financing. And so that's a promissory note and the deed of trust. The deed of trust is applicable. So don't forget that if you're looking at electronic signatures and you're looking at using FHLB funding. There are some carve-outs from at least one or two of the Federal Home Loan Banks to where they may accept electronic signatures, but you'll want to make sure that you're checking and verifying and confirming with your FHLB lender what is appropriate digital, physical for the collateral that they want to accept. And that's electronic signatures. If you're looking at accepting those, that is a common inquiry. And we've helped a number of our clients with that. If you have questions or comments or concerns about that, please reach out and let us know.